Okay, so I'm going to do some more reading from this poetry book. I've been writing some more of them down today, so I'm up to page 65. Yeah, I think I've got about at least 30 more to write down. I wrote 3 more poems today as well. And it's looking nice. I'm going to do, I don't think I've mentioned it in this series of videos, that I'm going to do an index for, I'm going to have it on this page, and I'll probably put the icons down the side here next to the page numbers. That I will, I've already chosen most of the categories, and let me see if I've got them written down. I think it was. So I've chosen the categories that I want them to be, and I've assigned each poem to 2 or 3 categories. And see. So they are, the index list is, I've got them written down here. Artificial intelligence, cars, crafting, family, Figaro, Greek, life problems, love, mafia, money, nature, Norse, programming, songs and celebrity, space, work, and World of Warcraft. But I want to see, I want to write all the poems down and then do the index, because I haven't decided which icons I want to use for them, or which images. Like, I was thinking of doing a little hand-drawn image in the space here. Either that or print it with this little printer that I've got. And I want to see if I think of any other categories before I fill in the index. But yes, so I'm on page 32. White flute. A wish for more than you already have, something better than the things you have already got. Some might think it matters not a jot, but when you stop yourself wishing for better, life gets boring. Like a partner who just keeps snoring, missing the best you have to offer or leaving you to suffer. A white flute might be what I'd wish for, perhaps something more. A lover who wouldn't be afraid to help when you feel the world might be scary. I think I might have to close that window, it's quite noisy out there. When you feel the world might be scary, someone with music in their heart who can make a life feel like it can restart, rather than leaving it to stagnate and letting the best things vacate. So summary of this one, it's only a short summary because there was not a lot of space at the bottom. I wrote this poem when thinking about what things in life seem hard to acquire when things get you feeling down. So when you're in that kind of frame of mind that nothing's going well, your life just seems to be a series of problems, one after the other, and that sometimes you just can't see things improving, and you feel like you'll never get anything good for yourself again. But it's good to remember that those feelings are fleeting, and things change. They can always get better. But yes, let me close that window. Cars going by and things. Okay. Excuse me. Is love really the tragedy of my life? So I wrote this one thinking about, because that's a line from a Darren Hayes song, almost exactly line. So I was thinking about Darren. Darren, my love, will you treat me well, keep me under your spell, happy to be your musical wife, sharing my life with you for whatever challenges come along. Would you play me like musical palm? Or love me no matter how my songs play. Would you give me hugs when needed, let me love you and feel like we both matter? Not leave the painful thoughts in life to make us both shatter. Would you leave me to feel hunger, ignore my pain, or leave me to cry in vain? I trust you wouldn't, even though others might. Living in pain isn't right. So the summary of this one, again, it's a really short summary, because there wasn't a lot of space at the bottom of the page. Inspired by a line in a Darren Hayes song, this poem asks some interesting questions about the nature of love with someone whom you might feel insecure about. And I wanted to say a little bit more than that. It's not just that you might feel insecure about them. You might feel insecure about your attachment to them. Maybe you feel like sometimes maybe they don't like you as much as you like them. That kind of thing. Yeah, the bit about would you leave me to feel hunger, ignore my pain, leave me to cry in vain. I wasn't thinking that about him. I was thinking that about other people in my life that I know that would do that kind of thing to me. I won't say who they are because they're not really in my life anymore. But definitely I've been treated badly by people that I don't want to spend time with anymore. And the bit about would you play me like musical Pong? That game Pong, like the things that go up and down and the ball goes between them, where you just like back and forwards, back and forwards. And you're not really thinking about each move that you do or each thing that you do. It's just becomes like automatic, just backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. It becomes habit and not necessarily that much fun. Yeah, so that's that one. The next one is when Angara became a warrior. She looked into the tower, opened a box that was forbidden, revealed to her world monsters that should have been left hidden. She had to face her nemesis, find her new name. Indigo was what she became. She played the harp, fought with weapons that were sharp, found her friend in Grimya, the she-wolf that became the fighter she always needed. Fenran was shown to be false, not her real love, more like the one she should have left feeling no love. Once the monsters were slain, she found her real family again. So this one was inspired by the Indigo Wheel of Time series. It's a series of 8 books that I read when I was a teenager. It's a story about, she's kind of barely a teenager herself when she'd been told all her life not to go near to this tower that was off on its own in the distance, sort of almost at the edge of her family's territory, because she was in she was a princess in a royal family, and she'd never been told what was inside the tower, what it was really about, but she'd been told never to go near it, don't go inside it, don't think about it, don't go over there and look at it, anything like that. And yeah, so this poem explores the main ideas of the book, the opening of the box within the Tower of Regrets, because that was what it was called, the Tower of Regrets, and meeting Grimya, as well as the monsters she released into the world. So she goes into the tower when she's not meant to. There's nothing inside the tower other than a wooden box. She opens up the box, and inside the box there's actually nothing. So it's an empty tower with a box with nothing in it. But once she opens it, something appears behind her, and it's this scary presence. There's a hand-drawn image on the front of the book, and it's this monster called Nemesis. It's got like silvery hair, and I remember it's like teeth like needles. And Nemesis talks to her and tells her that she has released 7 demons into the world, and that she would have to find them throughout the world and kill them before she can get her life back. So she becomes immortal for the time during which she has to kill the monsters. But she can't see any of her family. She can't see her betrothed, Fenran. And she has to watch her family be killed by the monsters. And basically, she has to grow up quite quickly because she had been like a spoiled little princess who would go out on expensive trips on horses that were paid for by her family and stuff like that. And she has to learn to fight and basically look after herself. And that's why she can't use her name anymore, because her family are they're kind of written out of history. So she can't go around telling people, I was this princess that people used to know, because by that point, it's like hundreds of years between each book, and she has to watch her world change. So she doesn't know anyone anymore. Yeah, it's a very interesting story. Along the way, she finds a friend in a wolf called Grimya, and they can talk to each other. But the wolf can only talk to her. She can't talk to anyone else. And I think there's parts of it where Angara gets to turn into a wolf, if I remember correctly. It's been quite a long time since I read the books, but certain parts of it really stuck with me when I was a teenager. Yeah. It was my favourite series of books to read. I reread it about 3 or 4 times as a teenager. But I had to. The story is that my mum bought me the first 3 from a car boot sale. And she said she saw them and she thought, oh, these look interesting, but she didn't actually look at the fact that it was a series of 8. So I read the first 3 within about a month, and then it was the end of the summer holidays, and I went back to school and I thought, where am I going to find these books? So I looked in every library nearby. I looked in the school library. It wasn't until a couple of years later that I went to college and I started using the internet in the library at college. And I looked up. I couldn't find any copies of the book in the UK, but I found some secondhand bookstores in America that had copies of them. So I had to get them sent over from different places. And I managed to find eventually the other 5 of the books. But because they came from different like printing lines, they have different illustrators. So some of them, Angara looks totally different to the other ones. If they had all been the same set, then they would all look the same. So in one of them, she's got like ginger hair. When in the book, she doesn't have ginger hair. So I don't know why they used that illustrator. But yeah, yeah, I like the Angara books. For years after that, I used the name Angara or Indigo when I was like making characters. I had a character in World of Warcraft called Angara. I had a character called Grimya as well. She was a hunter. Angara was actually my first character in World of Warcraft. It was a paladin. But yeah. So next poem. It isn't that nothing matters. When life batters at your house like a strong wind, trying to blow everything away, and happiness gives sway to thoughts that aren't making your day, remind yourself that what you need matters, even if it feels like it doesn't matter to others. Put yourself first sometimes, else you will always come last in their priorities. Even when money worries rack your brain, remember that life isn't always a trip on an enemy train. So this poem is inspired by thinking about the story of the Big Bad Wolf. The bit about like a strong wind trying to blow your house away. His threats to destroy if he didn't get what he wanted, and how a life that feels worthless to the person living it can easily be further devalued by others. So if you don't have very good self-esteem, it's very easy for other people to come along and make you feel even worse about your life. Because they probably know exactly how to say the exact thing that will just make you feel like everything you worry about yourself is true. You know, you'll never amount to anything. You'll never get anywhere in your life. Things like that. But yeah, the bit about remind yourself that what you need matters, because if your priorities are not important to you, they're not going to be important to anyone else in your life. So the next one, don't lie in cold snow. It isn't a good idea to deal with something like fear by buying a beer and shedding a tear. Things that were lost in the past can be left there, like a diary that you feel no need to reread. No need to reveal what things you wrote down, unless you want to share with someone you hold dear. Like whispers in your ear, not everything you fear needs to give your life such a sharp steer. The dead of winter isn't a good time to lie in the snow and wait for a warm glow. You could end up sleeping off your worries in a cold frost, while no one hurries to ask you where you were. So this one, I was thinking about, I wouldn't do this myself because I don't drink alcohol, so I don't go out to pubs and drink and stuff like that. But I know a lot of people do, obviously. And you see in like TV programs and stuff, they're having like relationship problems or they've split up with their partner. They might go out to a pub and it's quite noisy out there. They might go out to a pub, have some beers, to drown their sorrows, and then walk home, get lost, take a different route or something if they're really drunk. And I was imagining if it was like the dead of winter. And they might be like, oh, I'm just gonna lay down here for a bit. It looks this nice patch of snow looks cozy. I'll just sleep it off because I can't find my way home. And they you hear stories about like people just not being found, not waking up because it's too cold, and they thought they'd be okay. Yeah, that idea that don't go and drown your sorrows on your own, and not tell anyone where you are because they might not wonder where you are and what you're doing. Yeah. The next one is keeping idiots away. I didn't write a summary for that previous one because it took up the full page. I might write a summary at some point. Keeping idiots away. Somehow those with the most say are the idiots at the top, the ones who we should stop from culling the best of a crop. Excuse me. Those who would only seek to harm the meek and the lowly, leaving them lonely or lost and afraid, like their life has been attacked by an army on a raid, trying to make someone else their conquest, trying to take someone down when they are at their best, never giving them a fair rest, keeping their every thought and movement under test. How to keep the idiots at bay, when all they want is whatever you have, and they can't bear to even let you be brave. So this one is, the summary I wrote is, that feeling that abuses of power go unchallenged and seemingly allowed to continue as an assault on those who are less well off, less able to defend themselves, less likely to be believed when reporting to authorities. Yeah. This one is quite complicated to explain what was actually going on, and still is going on in my life, that inspired this poem. But if I take it as a more general look at what the poem is about, that feeling that those with all the power in the world will use it to further their own agenda, and they won't use it to right the injustices in the world. The people that have nothing but are the either the hardworking or the ones that can see when things aren't right, who want to do what they can to make the world a better place, but they're just constantly finding themselves coming up against people who don't want that. Yeah. So that feeling that when you're trying to do something good, but everything you do is being watched to find some kind of problem they can pull you up on, or something they can use against you to either discredit you or to take you from a good place to a bad place. Yeah. So this one, a bird that flew a feather. Singing in all weather, a tiny pigeon calling for its parents, waiting for their return, feeling the hunger burn. Cries of one so unhappy, a feather that flew so lightly, keeping such a tiny frame warm in a nest that shouldn't be bare. The parents sweetly singing to show they are still there. This poem was inspired by listening to the birdsong from my bedroom window. Imagining a tiny pigeon waiting for its food, wondering if its parents would return or not. Yeah, this one's I could hear this like screeching at my bedroom window, and I thought that doesn't sound like a very happy bird. But then I heard the parents come back, and it sounded like it got quiet, and then there was like lots of happy singing. So yeah, I just thought I'd write a short little poem about. It was nice to hear that there was a new life being nurtured by some pigeon parents nearby. Yeah. So the next one is when you don't want to sing. Because a new hobby that I had taken up in the past 2 years that I hadn't been doing for most of my life was singing. Because I used to be so self-conscious about things like that, about singing. I had a boyfriend in the past that used to think that I didn't like music because I didn't listen to music very much. But it was actually that I only really had one type of music that I like to listen to. That's still kind of the case. Well, I listen to classical music as well. It's mostly Savage Garden and Darren Hayes that I listen to. But yeah, I had been the past year and a half practicing singing, which growing up in a house with a twin sister and 3 brothers, where we used to tease each other and then like fight with each other, is the kind of thing that you grow up to be really self-conscious about. So yeah, it's nice to be able to not feel so inhibited by my own self sometimes. Yeah. So this one is when you don't want to sing. When it's hard to sing, too difficult to find a reason to smile. When nothing makes you want to laugh, all you want is the one you love. But things feel like the world got too tough. When singing doesn't feel like winning, and all you need is a cuddle. But those who don't want you to succeed just leave your thoughts in a muddle. You don't need to cry to find out why. Those who want to make your life feel destructive aren't worth the time it takes to make them leave you alone. It isn't easy to find what you need when those who sow hate would just throw you into the weeds like a farmer not caring for his seeds. Yeah, so the summary of this one, it's a short summary. I wrote this poem after having a few very difficult days and was really just wanting a friendly face to smile at me and to have a hug. Yeah. Yeah, I was having a difficult time, and the things that had been making me feel happy recently at that point, they weren't making me feel happy, so I thought, okay, I'll write a poem about it, see if that makes me feel any better. And yeah, so that is the next one would make this 11 poems. So that's 10 poems that I've read on that one. I think. No, actually, one more because that's page 39. I started on 31. So yes, the next one is Poison Thoughts. Excuse me. Your thoughts can be unhappy if the world seems unfair, and you have too many worries to make yourself not care. Oh, excuse me. Thoughts can be brought under your control, and your mind can be reminded not to take on such a pessimistic role. Better that such poison isn't allowed into your thoughts, like anger that can be wrought, or a danger sign that can be bought. Much better to keep your list of worries short, and be happy with what the world can offer, to one so fraught with thoughts of being unloved. So this one is inspired by the title and lyrics of Darren Hayes' song Poison Blood. I didn't want to name it the exact same thing, so this is Poison Thoughts. This poem is about controlling those worries and putting your thoughts onto a more optimistic and happy line of thinking. Sometimes it's not easy to do, but when I'm in that kind of frame of mind, I like to think back to psychotherapy that I've had in the past to deal with ways of thinking that make your life more difficult. And there are things that you can do, like taking yourself off to do something else if you're just sitting there thinking about the same things and it's not getting you anywhere. If your mood just seems to be spiraling downwards, things like what I do here is I might write a poem about it so that I can look back on it later and think, well, I'm not in that kind of mood anymore, but I can see what I was thinking about at that point. Yeah, so it's not like I've always had this kind of problem with controlling what I'm thinking about. But sometimes when I consider what I was like as a child and when I was younger, definitely there were elements of things like I used to sit there of an evening thinking, I don't want to go to school tomorrow. I don't want to go to school tomorrow. I'm scared of going to school tomorrow. And that would start happening about 6 p.m. Sometimes it would happen as soon as I was leaving school on my way home. And I'd start thinking, is there some way that I can pretend I've got a headache in the morning or things like that? And eventually my mum, she had her own problems with depression, so she wouldn't get up in the morning anyway. So me and my siblings had to get ourselves ready for school. And some days we decided, I'm not going to school today. I'm still in bed. But eventually you get to the point where you realise if you do that every single day, you're gonna not pass any of your exams and stuff like that. So yeah. But yeah, where was I going with that? I was just explaining that some of these problems with the way I think sometimes probably did start when I was younger. But I had about 2 years of therapy to deal with some stuff. And it really helped. Because you think back and you remember the things they taught you, the stuff that they said, like when you're in this frame of mind, there are ways to deal with it. You can either find someone, a friend that you can talk to, or you can write in your diary, you can practice a hobby, do something different, you could just engross yourself in a film. You don't have to just sit there sort of stuck inside your own thoughts going on and on at yourself about why am I feeling like this. Yeah. But okay, that's it for now, this one. There's still, so that's, the next one will be page 41, and I have written up to page 65. So I've got a few more to do still.